All right, good morning or good afternoon. If you're watching this, then I am away. My wife probably be in labor and waiting on daughter number two. But today is Wednesday, January 13th. This means you'll have already taken your Chapter 10 quiz over Roman numerals 2 and 3. Tomorrow, Thursday, you will be giving current event presentations. So those of you who are assigned for that, you will give your summary in front of the class. And then once you're finished with that, you'll hand in that typed or written summary to the substitute teacher. She'll file that away for me to look at, grade, and I'll put that in the grade book at some point in the future. All right. And then after you do the current events, you are going to be studying for your test, which is on next Tuesday. Okay. Because Monday is MLK Day. Then on Friday, you're going to be watching a video about Martin Luther King Jr. and his I Have a Dream speech so that you understand and can explain what MLK Day is all about. And so today, January 13th, we're going to go over pages 201 through 204. That starts with Roman numeral 4 here, Jackson's legacy. Now, after Jackson served his after he served his two terms, okay, 1828 is when he first got elected. Okay, then you had the election of 1832. He was elected again. And after he finished serving his two terms, there was the election of 1836. Now, we see the creation of a whole nother political party, okay, and that is the Whig Party. They were called the Whig Party after the British political group who is known for, of course, wearing their wigs. But they stood for pretty strict morals. They lived by a pretty strict moral code. The Whigs, for example, they wanted to pass laws based on religion and morals. And so they were more viewed as the stuffy group compared to the Democrats, even though a lot of the things that they wanted were not bad at all. But we also see that the Whigs, many Northern Whigs especially, saw slavery as sinful. They wanted to get rid of slavery, whereas Democrats were kind of viewed as the party of the common man, free thinkers. Many Democrats, especially in the South and West, approved of slavery. But the Whigs, like I said, they wanted to pass laws based on religion and morals. They wanted Sunday closing laws, which stated that all businesses would be closed on Sunday or out of respect for the Lord's Day. Now, of course, there's one business that does that, sometimes to our frustration, Chick-fil-A. But I respect their views on that. But they also wanted alcohol outlawed. And so we see that alcohol being outlawed, that happened with Prohibition. And we're going to look at Prohibition and see how it affected the United States more so negatively than it did positively. But the Whigs, they wanted Sunday closing laws. They wanted alcohol outlawed. But the Whig Party, they were no match for Jackson's hand-picked successor, and that was Martin Van Buren. And so Martin Van Buren wins the election of 1836. And one thing of distinction with Martin Van Buren that set him apart from all of his predecessors, those who came before him, is that he was the first president who was not born a British subject. Now, we know that Andrew Jackson was born a British subject because during the Revolutionary War, he served as a courier or a messenger, transporting messages back and forth for colonial troops. That's how he was caught by the British soldier who told him, "Clean my boots." Jackson refused. He was hit across the head with a saber. Okay, so we know that Jackson was born a British subject, but Van Buren, he was not. He was born into a free America, the first president to have been born into a free America. And he was a persuasive and masterful politician. It says in your textbook, okay, that he really did fit the Democratic persona in that he was never born in a house of privilege, but he lacked the education as well acquired by other national politicians, but he was still a masterful politician. He was good with words. But Van Buren, he would only serve one term. And this is where we move on from the Democratic presidencies into a new era. And that era would be led by William Henry Harrison. Now, this should be a familiar name to you. William Henry Harrison, he was known for his bravery in the Battle of Tippecanoe against the Indian leader Tecumseh. And it was where they were chasing after Tecumseh had created this Indian Confederation, where they attacked Prophetstown, which was Tecumseh's capital while Tecumseh was away. And so William Henry Harrison, he burned down Prophetstown, defeated the Indians there, and became a war hero. And he was running on his popularity that he gained during the war to win the presidency. Now, what's interesting is that he was a part of the Whig Party. So this is the first Whig president that takes over the Oval Office. Okay, so William Henry Harrison, he defeats Van Buren in the next election. He chose John Tyler as his running mate. And there's a picture of William Henry Harrison and John Tyler on page 202. It says their campaign in this election, the election of 1840, was pretty interesting. It said they campaigned with gusto, with a lot of flair. It said that, let's see here, on page 202, the last paragraph, it says, dressed as Indians, they played up Harrison's victory over Tecumseh at the Battle of Tippecanoe. They served gallons of cider to voters and put on parades complete with bands, banners, and flags. It says voter turnout, this is interesting, increased 60% in 1836. So this is where that campaign technique of mass campaigning is really coming into its own. And it said this increase, along with his war fame, helped Harrison and his running mate John Tyler win the vote. Now, they used slogans as well. This is where they're starting to try to use catchy slogans to get people's attentions, to stick in people's brains whenever they're going to the voting booth. One of these slogans was Tippecanoe and Tyler too. The other one was, this was for Martin Van Buren, Van is a used up man. Well, that wasn't for Martin Van Buren, it was against him. And then another one was, to guide the ship, we'll try old Tip. And so they tried all of these campaign slogans to get William Henry Harrison elected. However, things would not last for William Henry Harrison. He ended up delivering the longest inaugural address in the nation's history. Now, delivering the nation's longest inaugural address in good weather is one thing. But when you deliver it in rainy weather, when you are standing out in the Washington, D.C. cold weather with rain, you have a chance to catch pneumonia. And that is exactly what happened. He became ill with pneumonia and died 4 weeks after taking office. Now, due to the law of secession, that means that the presidency went to John Tyler. Now, sadly for John Tyler, he was the first vice president, to take over the presidency after the death of a predecessor. Now, he was a Whig in name only, meaning that he said he was a part of the Whig Party, but he didn't always believe with the Whig principles. He clashed with other Whig members, such as Henry Clay. If you remember, Henry Clay ran for the presidency in 1824, didn't get it, was the Speaker of the House, swung votes for John Quincy Adams. He became Secretary of State. Well, Henry Clay tried to rule the nation through legislation written in Congress, basically saying, you know what, we don't think John Tyler's really cut out for the job. He's there by accident, because Harrison delivered a long address and died of pneumonia. No one voted John Tyler in, They voted for Harrison. And so he was trying to influence the nation's course by written legislation, basically saying we're going to write all of these laws and we're going to give Tyler no choice but to pass them. Otherwise, we're going to make his life miserable. In fact, it was sad. I always feel bad for John Tyler because he kept vetoing these bills, even though the Whigs just kept passing them saying, we're going to try to rule the nation for you through this legislation. they started coming up with names, one of which for Tyler was they referred to him as his accidency because he became president by accident, they said. And so he really clashed with all of these members, and all of his cabinet members resigned. Basically, his closest group of counsel, they said, you know what? We hate being here because we don't think that you should really be president. We're done. Okay. And they resigned. And he became known as, quote unquote, the man without a party. So, as always, a sad part about John Tyler there. And so, we're going to stop here, okay, with chapter 10. That's Jackson's legacy. So, it kind of goes from this real time of, I wouldn't say turmoil, but up and down presidency under Jackson, moves to Van Buren, where it was kind of phasing out of the democratic process. Then you have a short-lived Whig rule in the White House with William Henry Harrison for 4 weeks, John Tyler after him. Okay, and then we'll see what happens later on. It's going to end up being James K. Polk, a Democrat, who wins the presidency. And we're seeing that this era of good feelings that started with James Monroe has now completely dissipated, and you now have a political style in the United States that is now starting to be party against party, and they're going to be butting heads for quite some time. All right, so just for review of some housekeeping here, like I said earlier, okay, current events, that'll be on Thursday, and then you're going to need to study after current events are through. And then on Friday, you're going to be watching the I Have a Dream speech on Google Classroom. I also will have video notes for you to fill out. All right, I hope that you have a great rest of the day, and hopefully I'll see you all soon.